Jameis was having, I don't think, I mean, he wasn't, awesome, but Jameis was doing exactly what they needed him to do. Jameis was playing hard. Jameis was contributing to wins, and it was just the beginning of kind of the resurgence, the revitalization of his career, if you will. That was kind of the whole goal of him being in New Orleans, and it was happening before your very eyes, especially yesterday in the Superdome. Jameis was playing like a man possessed in that game. We kind of joked about it all week leading up to the game, like, oh, yeah, he's saying all the right things, and it's just another game. You could clearly see for him yesterday that it was not. And for him to go down in that fashion in that game is just a total bummer for Jameis personally, and I mean also for the Saints.
Yep, the sad thing is he never really got to play with the whole team, with the whole offense.
Yeah.
This was only the second game that Traquan Smith was back. It looked like they were finally developing a little chemistry. Traquan and Jameis, they connect for a touchdown pass a week after they were fighting on the sideline, and people saw it. And it's just really unfortunate because, as you said, he had been playing so well this season, culminating in this game. And when he went down, he was 6 of 10 passing, 56 yards, a touchdown, and he was also running all over the Buccaneers. Like we talked about before the show, scrambled 4 times for 40 yards, including a couple of key third down conversions, which he's been picking up a lot of those lately. And he had just been playing so well, but not even just his play on the field, man. Just see how everybody's talking about him right now. See how Sean Payton's talking about he saw him in the locker room and immediately broke down crying.
Right.
And not just his teammates, but also his former teammates on the Buccaneers side were really bummed out. And Bruce Arians talking to Sean Payton after the game, there's a clip where it looks like Bruce Arians is asking Sean Payton for an update on Jameis Winston, and it looks like Payton's response, you could see him mouth the words or the letters ACL, and then by Bruce Arians' reaction, you can kind of tell that is what it appears to be. So just a terrible situation. You feel terrible for Jameis Winston, but I would not bury the Saints season yet. They just got a whole lot of offense in this game against a really good defense, although they were banged up. And on defense, the Saints have arguably the best unit in the NFL. So still a lot to accomplish. All the goals are still in front of the Saints.
I'm not burying the Saints at all, Mario, and I guess that's kind of where we can take the conversation a little bit right now. Why would you? This is now just, again, a situation. I mean, they were in this situation last year.
And the year before.
And the year before. And they managed to win games with their defense and with running the football. The Saints ran for 152 yards yesterday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Against the Buccaneers.
I mean, now, it was a lot of different guys, but it was extremely effective. And they've done what they've done in 3 of the 4 meetings with Tom Brady and the Bucs, and that is just make his life miserable, force turnovers, and convert off of every single one of those turnovers. And it in some situations, it was, the likely suspects committing those, forcing those turnovers, and others, it wasn't. But we played the clips on the show, Mario. You listened to that defense, them talk all week, and you could tell they were confident. And it was one reason I had a feeling that the Saints were going to go get it done on Sunday. And whether it was Demario Davis, quote tweeting Skip Bayless, which he followed that up yesterday, and it was phenomenal. If you haven't seen it, go to Demario Davis's Twitter and look at it. The man just absolutely trolled Skip Bayless. Whether it was Cam Jordan, smirking in his media availability, talking about, pretty good feeling for Sunday. They just exuded this confident aura about them, and it showed why. I mean, they match up well against that offense for some reason, and they're able to really give them fits, and it happened again.
For the most part, that's the same group that was out there a couple weeks ago when they lost to Daniel Jones without his 2 top receivers. And they have clearly, Musso, a little bit of added juice against this particular opponent, like you're saying. Number one, because they've had success against Tom Brady, tangible success, statistical success that we've broken down and will continue to break down. But it's clear that right now, at least going forward, this is the rivalry. It was Saints-Falcons for the longest time, at least from the Saints fans' point of view. But there's a lot of bad blood, not just between the fan bases, but obviously between the players as well. A whole lot of extracurriculars, a whole lot of chirping, words being said, not just during the game and in between whistles, but after the game. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Leonard Fournette almost get in a fight. So the Saints just go full throttle on defense every time they play Tampa Bay. And like we said leading into this game, Musso, even if you include the playoff game, the Saints are 1-3 against Tom Brady since he joined the Tampa Bay 3-1 against Tom Brady since he joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And really in all 4 of those games, the defense has played really well. We talked about the statistics leading into this one, the only reason they lost a playoff game was because the 4-0 turnover margin that Tampa Bay had. It wasn't because Tom Brady was slicing and dicing the Saints. And this stat that Jeff Duncan found is crazy. Okay, since Tom Brady joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 21 games in the 2020 and 2021 regular seasons, Tom Brady has thrown 10 interceptions in 839 attempts, one in every 83.9. In 3 games versus the Saints in that same span, Brady's thrown 7 interceptions in 114 attempts, one in every 16.2 throws. So he's thrown 10 interceptions since he joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and 7 of them have been against the New Orleans Saints. So that is an unbelievable statistic. Tom Brady has been playing really well this season. Statistically, he has the numbers. We talk about him during Fantasy Football Thought of the Day all the time, but the Saints pick their spots, and he picks his spots as well. He definitely made his plays, but the Saints got those 2 huge interceptions. They got the sacks when they needed to, and they played him like they played him the first 3 times that they matched up. This group clearly has a lot of confidence against this particular opponent and this particular quarterback who happens to be the best of all time.
And they were able to withstand a punch, too. The Saints are up 23-7 in this game after the first drive of the second half. And look, I mean, you knew it wasn't over. You know, it wasn't over at that point, but they would go 3 and out, Bucs score. 3 and out, Bucs score. 3 and out, Bucs score. And you withstood their rally. You withstood them making a run. You end up taking the lead again. And credit to, look, we kind of talked about a lot of different things. We still haven't talked about Trevor Siemian. Credit to Trevor Siemian. Is he the future at that position for the Saints going forward the rest of the season? Probably not. It's going to be Taysom Hill most likely, but this is twice now you've seen this situation happen where, and Sean said it after the game, if Taysom was playing, it still would have been Trevor. Trevor was your number 2 for an in-game situation like this, just like Jameis was last year. And this is 2 years in a row now. You've seen that backup come in, be prepared, be ready to play like they were the starter. Was Trevor Siemian great? No. But was he good? Yeah, didn't turn the ball over. They threw the ball 29 times with Trevor Siemian. They were not going to change their game plan because he was in there. They knew they were going to have to throw the ball to win. They stayed ultra aggressive throughout the entirety of the game. He ends up throwing for over 150 yards, a touchdown, and most importantly, does not turn the ball over. It's the same thing you look at when you would talk about Jameis. The decision is more important than anything. You can live to fight another day. What did Sean Payton always say? Man, I got a bunch of plays over here. Just get me to the next play. Trevor Siemian did that very well and made some pretty clutch throws down the stretch of that game to help the Saints come back and take the lead when it was 29-27.
The third down throw to Callaway on the final drive to set the Saints up first and goal was awesome. And Trevor Siemian, like you said, 29 passes, completing 16 of them, and played really well. 159 yards, a touchdown, did not turn the ball over, which is key, as you said. And although wins and losses are not a quarterback stat on this show, I will point out that in his career, he has a lot of experience, and he's 13-12 as a starter. And you can tell the experience, Musso. A lot of people maybe would have hoped or thought earlier on in the season that it would be Ian Book taking over the reins in that situation, but clearly Sean Payton puts a value on having experience, and Trevor Siemian looked like somebody who had played before. We know he played in that stadium before because he's the only player in NFL history to ever beat both Drew Brees and Tom Brady in the Caesars Superdome. He beat the Saints as a member of the Broncos back in 2016. So Sean Payton deserves a lot of credit for what he did with that offense against this defense, although, like I said, missing multiple starters in the secondary. But Trevor Siemian deserves a lot of credit as well. He was not scared at all. He made some really good reads, and Tampa Bay kept blitzing him. He made the right play most of the time. So Sean Payton deserves a lot of credit, as we'll continue to break down. But Trevor Siemian deserves a lot of props for just his mentality, his wherewithal, and how he performed in that situation.
And Taysom Hill should be ready to go, I'm assuming, this week, and will be the quarterback. Sean Payton said he's progressing well and he's on schedule. What does that mean? I don't really know, because the guy's missed 3 games off of concussion. So what type of schedule was he really on? But you would expect him to be back. And look, it's a situation, we kind of led the segment talking about this, that the Saints have found themselves in a lot here recently, and both times they've made the playoffs. And maybe this one's a little bit different because it's a season-long injury now with Jameis, and it's not the temporary injuries like it was with Drew Brees, where you knew he'd come back. But maybe that also actually kind of opens some doors for you to tailor the offense a little bit more towards Taysom Hill. Or, I mean, maybe if it is Trevor Siemian for a couple of games, I'm not sure. I assume it'll be Taysom, but as long as they have that defense, as long as they have the running game, and look, speaking of Taysom, that's just going to be another dimension to that running game. The Saints are a playoff team still.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, Taysom took a lot of reps with the ones. The offense is going to have to switch a little bit in terms of what you want to do and your philosophies, but he can run it. He has a lot of experience running it. And I'm sure the locker room believed more in Jameis Winston. Don't get me wrong. I think that they wanted him to be the starter, at least the players on the team. But I think they also believe in Taysom. And given the circumstances, I think that they believe that Taysom can step up and be a winning quarterback for this team. But like we already discussed, the reason why you and I, it seems like, both feel pretty good about the long-term prospects about the New Orleans Saints is because of their defense. Their defense, not just in this game, but if you take away that one little anomaly against the Giants and the Panthers game where they had a lot of guys banged up, they've been really good all season. And think about the weapons that Tampa Bay has. Mike Evans in this game, 2 receptions, 48 yards, had that big touchdown against Marshawn Lattimore, but just 4 targets. He got his, and Marshawn got his. That was a good battle. Marshawn Lattimore played a really good game. And then you look at some other players on this defense that deserve credit. Malcolm Jenkins. Oh, my goodness.
Malcolm Jenkins had a good day.
He is playing so well as you get. It's like fine wine. It seems like the older he gets, the better he plays because he played well last season. It seems like he's playing even better now.
The PBU he had against Gronkowski, the goal line early in that game was, I mean, that felt like just a massive play early on.
Yes, he owns Gronk in the series of since Tom Brady joined the Buccaneers. And I know Gronk had a couple of touchdown passes in the playoff game when they beat the Saints. But for the most part, Malcolm Jenkins has won that matchup, and he very much won it yesterday before Gronkowski went down with an injury. And then what can you say about P.J. Williams, a very underrated player in the secondary with all the big names that they have, but he's made a lot of plays this season, Musso. He had a sack fumble in the game against Carolina in the loss, last year against Tampa Bay in the second game in the blowout. He had an interception against Tom Brady, and obviously he had a big interception in this game. P.J. Williams makes the play of his career. I was on the call for the Spanish broadcast, and this is how it sounded in Español.
3 receptores a la derecha, 1 receptor a la izquierda es Mike Evans, cubrido por Lattimore. Aquí está la jugada, Brady en la bolsa, con mucho tiempo, pase sobre el centro, interceptado, interceptado, 20, yarda 15, sigue vivo 10, hasta la 5.
Might have to get a shut-up color guy. My boy Juan Carlos Ramos, shout out to him. But we returned, as you can see.
It felt like Jerez Jenkins in week 1 last year, securing the win over Tom Brady and the Bucs.
Except it's a lot better with the full crowd on hand to see it.
It's a lot better with the full crowd on hand.